Welcome to DFC on the Green. I'm Jason Gilbo. With me is Chris Etherington, taking a look at DraftKings picks for the Open. Last year, Jordan Spieth won this. This year, we got a massive field. It's been a while since we've had a quality tournament. I feel it's probably been about a month or so since we've been on.
Yeah, it feels like since the U.S. Open, really, since we've had this type of field, the pricing is really soft, in my opinion. You can start with DJ at 11-3, and you can just basically build whatever the hell you want. But yeah, it's going to be a fun week. Just looking at the weather, it looks like the winds are going to be somewhat down throughout the week. It looks like Friday might be the windiest day, with gusts up to 15 miles per hour. So the fact that the winds won't increase from there, I think I'm just going to pick the guys who I like for the week and go on from there.
It's always, weather's always huge at this tournament. I mean, we've seen the winds pick up to 20, 30 miles an hour. If something happens, what are you kind of looking at? Because I know a lot of people, I feel, try to gravitate towards the Euro players because they're more consistent in this type of weather and scenery. Is that something that you apply as well?
Yeah, it's more of a gut feel that if you know a certain player that's relatively good playing in the wind, like Alex Noren or like a Ricky Fowler. Those two guys, I just know they're really good playing the wind. So I know by playing them, I'm not going to have an issue this week. But yeah, this is where the talk of the stacking tee times really became popular, because it was like 2 years ago. I think it was when Stenson won. That one side of the draw just really had a huge advantage, and if you didn't take advantage of stacking that side of the tee times, then you lost all the money that week. And from there on, the topic of weather and the stacking tee times really blossomed. It became a really popular topic since then.
I know that's something that you'll keep an eye on throughout the week. So be sure to give Chris a follow on Twitter or DFC, of course. You're always looking at that type of stuff. Let's dig in here this week. What are you looking at specifically? Anything different from what you usually do as far as stats go?
For stats, I'm just basically looking at guys who can hit it from tee to green really well. Very consistent. So I'm looking at strokes gained, tee to green. Also, the norm looking at the approach to the green, and also par 4 scoring. And then because it's the Open, the guys will miss the fairways. They will miss the greens. So I'm going to look into scrambling a lot, and also strokes gained around the green as well. That's pretty much going to be my nuts right there with the stats. It's just basically the guys tee to green, very consistent, and guys who can scramble and get up and down for par from anywhere. I think that's the key this week.
And you mentioned the soft pricing. That tends to be just kind of how the majors are for these million makers. It gets people more enticed to play when they can build a lineup that features a lot of names that they know. That's just, they want this bad boy to fill up. You told me last night, you're like, I'm pretty much looking at everyone in the 8K range here. But we'll get to that point. As far as guys over 10K, I know you're liking Justin Rose here. We'll get to him. Are you still kind of on the fading Spieth, fading McIlroy train here?
Spieth for sure. There's just something wrong with his putter. I can't make out what it is. He is just not playing well. Like, he's near dead last in the field for scrambling. Same goes for strokes gained approach to the green recently. So I'm just fading Spieth. Rory, on the other hand, I think I'm going to go back to him just because he has a good record. at the Open. He won here like back in 2014, and then the last 2 years he finished in the top 5. So the fact that Rory he's been streaky. Yes, he's won the Arnold Palmer earlier this year. I still think that his ownership will be down a little bit. I think it'll be a race between him and Spieth for the lowest ownership. But I'm going to have to pick Rory here just because I feel more comfortable with Rory with his tee to green game. And if his putter gets hot, then he's really hard to beat in the Open.
And I think when you look, like you said, I mean, Spieth just hasn't been great as far as, the price goes this year. It just hasn't been playing well. Because of the soft pricing, I do kind of envision, DJ even being the most expensive, still being pretty popular up top. I like DJ here, of course, but I kind of like this Justin Thomas, Justin Rose range quite a bit here as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely playing Rose. I'm basically going to go with the public on this one. Rose and DJ should be the highest two in ownership in this range. If you look at DJ's stats, I mean, he's first in the field for birdie or better percentage. He's first in the field for par 4 scoring and first in the field for scrambling. With the soft pricing, I'm just going to have him. Going to have some worry. And then with Justin Rose being there at 10-2, I think I'm just going to go almost all in on Justin Rose this week. He's just playing lights out this year, basically a year and a half so far. If you look at his stats, I mean, he's first in the field for tee to green. He's second in the field for both approach to the green and for par 4 scoring. And he's not a bad scrambler as well. So I think at 10-2 for Justin Rose, you can easily start him in any formats this week. And I think Rory is a good tournament play.
Yeah, I definitely think Rory's in play for GPPs. Rose, I feel like he's been way too cheap this year for his production. I think you can make the argument that he should even be over 11K right now with DJ.
Yeah, he should be, if anything, where Rory is, maybe more expensive than Rory. Just like I said, with Rose's recent play as of late, and he is playing well. And the Scottish Open right now. So with that in mind, with a good of a ball striker that he is, I'm just going to put most of my shares into Justin Rose, and hopefully that pays out this week.
9K range, just a couple of options here. You got Ricky Fowler, Brooks Koepka, Sergio Garcia, Tommy Fleetwood. What are your thoughts on this range here? They're kind of smashed in between, the 8K range that we're going to get to, which features probably going to be some popular names, but some underpriced guys as well. So what are you doing with this 9K range here?
It kind of feels like a dead range, in my opinion. Like Fleetwood is going to get a lot of attention because everyone knows the name by now. He knows how well he's been playing. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong playing Fleetwood, but I think with his ownership, I'm just going to fade him. He should be more popular than Fowler. So in that sense, I think Fowler might be the only guy for me in this range, just because I know he has a good history at the Open. He finished runner-up here at the Open back in 2014. So with him having a good week again at the Scottish Open, I think Fowler at 9,700, he should be a nice play this week. I think he should contend well at Carnoustie on Sunday.
Before we crack in here, Tiger, I know, is he still showing up first in your models here?
He's in second now.
I was going to say, because I just imagined your list is going to be 55 names of Tiger Woods.
Yeah, he was first in the model for the longest time, and then Rose decided to jump over him just recently. So, yeah, Tiger's second in the model. He's basically in the top 10 in the field for all the stats I'm looking at. His first stat is the par 4 scoring. He's 10th in the field for that one. Yeah, he finished 4th at the Quicken Loans. That was when I pretty much went all in last time I was on him. And this week, like I told you, I think last night, was with the fairways being baked out at Carnoustie. He doesn't need to hit driver, which will be nice for him. He could just use his 2-iron off the tee, and he's really good with his short to mid irons. And once he figures out how to make those 10-foot putts again, if he's going to win, this would be the week that's a really good shot of winning. So, just like Rose, I think I'm going to go almost all in on Woods here. Him and Rose are going to be my core players at the top here.
So by Friday afternoon, we are going to know where you stand for this Open.
Pretty much. If those two guys are going to be missing the cut, then you're going to just wave my money goodbye on that one.
I know you're fading Jason Day in the spot. Thoughts on Paul Casey here? I feel like he's always a guy who just kind of finds himself in these mid ranges at these big tournaments, and 8,700 for a guy that I feel like kind of maps out really well for this course as well.
Yeah, Casey is one of those guys that I'm thinking about writing up this week for cash plays. I mean, at 8,700, being like 3rd in the field for par 4 scoring, 7th in the field for scrambling, and if you look at his recent performance, I mean, he has 2 top 5s in his last 3 starts on the PGA Tours. So I think with that being at 8,700, like I said, and finishing just outside the top 10 at the Open last year, if the weather stays the way it is, I think Casey makes a lot of sense. Normally, he kind of falters off a little bit after a win, which kind of happened with his first win back in like 2009, I think. It doesn't seem to be the case this year after winning Feldspar. He's still playing very consistent. He almost won again a couple of weeks ago. But, yeah, I mean, it's just a really nice price to almost lock in for cash formats. And I think even for GPPs, his ownership shouldn't be too high, I think. I think he'll be around that 17, 18% mark, which is totally fine for me.
So when you look at, before we get into Reed and Noren, Molinari and Matsuyama, I feel will draw probably the lowest ownership of this group here. Any thoughts on them here for like GPPs at all?
Yeah, I'm playing both. I'm playing pretty much almost everyone in this $8,000 range. Molinari, again, he went to Quicken Loans saying, basically, it looks like a course I can play well and beat the guys at, and he did. He's actually contending a little bit without Michael Kemp blitzering the field, basically, right now at John Deere. Molinari's up there again. He's just your normal consistent ball striker that I look for. And like I said, with the baked out fairways, with his ball striking at 8,600, I'm going to play some Molinari. And same with Matsuyama. I mean, they're almost in the same sort of float with their ball striking. Matsuyama's a little scarier just because if the wind does pick up, then he normally doesn't play that well. But like I said at the top, I think the weather is going to be a little nicer, more sustained winds throughout the week. So I think with Matsuyama's ball striking, if he could just putt average like we've been saying about him, then he should play well as well, because he has a really good Open history. He has 3 top 20s in his last 5 starts here. So yeah, at 8,500, that should be a fine play for both cash and for GPPs.
Yeah, Matsuyama is always one of those guys, and this year he's been a little bit more erratic. I feel because dealing with the injury, but he's bounced back. I mean, like you said, 3 top 20s here over his last 3. Played well at the Open, given the standards that it had. He's always a guy with tournament winning upside, and he just hasn't been priced to where he was because the wins haven't been there this year.
Right, and I think because of I think it was the wrist injury that he was dealing with. For a bit, he came back to the match play. Didn't do so well there, but then ever since then, he's been racking up some points. Like you said, like 3 top 20s in his last 3 starts. Yeah, he missed a cut at the Scottish Open, but I'm not going to look into that too much. I still like him as a nice play for the Open. Yeah. I'm not going to go crazy, not like Tiger crazy with at least 50%, but I think around 25-30% in your player pool is a fine price for Matsuyama.
Yeah, I like that. Patrick Reed, Alex Noren here, 8,400, 8,300. I kind of expect them to be relatively popular here. I think Noren's going to draw a lot of interest and maybe a little bit more just being the European player over Reed. But both those guys, I just feel are kind of underpriced here and are probably going to steal a lot of ownership.
Yeah, I totally agree, especially with Reed's performance so far in the majors. He won the Masters this year and also finished in the top 5 in the U.S. Open. For stats, I mean, he's okay pretty much all around, so I don't mind playing him at all. When you look at his history the last 5 years, I mean, he has a couple top 20s there back in 2015 and 2016, but also has a couple missed cuts. That kind of what you get out of Patrick Reed. If he's not scrambling well, then yeah, he might be out by Friday. And like you said with Noren, I think that's the most popular name outside of Fleetwood for European guys. So yeah, at 8,300, he's going to get a lot of talks this week for the Open, especially if the wins are up.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I know kind of the bottom half you're not as excited about. Your Leishman, Mickelson, Stenson, you're off of this week, right?
Yeah, Stenson. I know Stenson WD'd at the Scottish Open, claiming so-called elbow injury. That seems to be his Achilles heel, as it were. I just don't know what to make of him. I think it's just an excuse just to rest up for the Open, but who knows with Stenson. I mean, if you look at his record at the Open, he has a really good record here. He won here back in 2016, came in second back in 2013. So, I mean, he's a fine play, but he's just so volatile that I'm just not comfortable playing. And then we'll go with the new rules breaker, I guess, with Phil Mickelson. Yeah, at 8,100, he missed the cut at the Scottish Open. Something's just not right now with him. I guess he's getting bugged a lot at the moment with the press asking him a lot of questions on what happened back at the US Open. So maybe that's having some play in it on him not playing well. Either way, I'm just not playing him at 8,100. And Leishman's just off with his off the tee stuff. I just don't know what to make of it right now. The guy beneath him, I'm going to have some shares of. But with Leishman there, yeah, I just need to fade him for the week.
I mean, Mickelson might be just looking forward to his $10 million, round with Tiger. I think that's what he's geared up for.
Yeah, he says that there should be some final talks, final stuff to put in place for that match. I don't know what to make of it. I think it's just something in the works just to grab some interest for TV stuff. If this happened like when they were both in their prime, like early 2000, mid 2000, like say 2004, like after Phil winning the Masters, when that was when Tiger wasn't really winning any major during that stretch. Like if that happened, then I'd be more excited. But now that they're basically in the back end of their careers, yeah, it's just like I said, I don't know what to make of that scenario. I don't know what the purpose is.
I feel like it's trying to get back like some focus on those two. A lot of it's the young guys right now. There's a lot of young talent, and it's spread out more than I feel than any time before. And Tiger's, he's had his comeback run, starting to fade a little bit. Mickelson, hasn't done much this year outside of earlier this season, and I think it's just trying to get a grab of attention again.
Yeah, possibly. It's going to be interesting to see where that $10 million is coming from. I don't know if it's coming.
It's Phil's stock report. That's where it's coming from.
Is that where it's coming from? Okay, that's what I figured. I can't imagine it being out of their own pockets. It'll be some TV sponsors or something. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that.
You mentioned that you're going to go to a guy lower here, Brendon Grace. We're cracking below the 8K line. Grace incredibly consistent this year. Has yet to miss a cut. A couple top tens. I still go back and I feel like if you placed well at the U.S. Open, despite shooting like 10 over, it was still a decent round, just given the fact of how tough that course played. But Brendon Grace has been playing really well of late.
He has, and with his history at the Open, I mean, he's made 5 straight cuts at the Open. He finished tied for 6th last year. So with that being at 7,900, that's a huge value right there. And if you look at his stats, I mean, outside of his approach to the green and par 4 scoring, he's basically in the top 30 in the field for the other stats that I'm looking at. Like I said, I think I'm just going to go to him more so than Mark Leishman. Grace has been more consistent, and he seems to be a better links player than Leishman has, and I feel more comfortable playing him right now. So I think at 7,900, that's a really nice value for him. He should make the cut, have that upside with the top 10 finish. Who knows? It might go his way. He might actually win the thing. He has that pedigree, so I'm definitely going to play him in some cash formats this week for sure.
What about some of these other guys here? I mean, you're still getting into some decent names. You have Hatton, Adam Scott, Bubba Watson, Ian Poulter, Louis. He played in the Scottish Open this week, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what he did. I want to say he missed the cut, but
he was questionable coming in. I don't know if something's up with him.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'll look back into it later, but I can't trust Louis right now. Yeah, he usually pops up in majors, but as of late, I just can't trust him. The one guy that's interesting, though, is Ian Poulter at 78. I mean, ever since I think it was last year at the Round of Players when he found out that he actually had enough FedEx Cup points to carry on with his membership status, he's been playing very well. He's won the Shell the week before the Masters this year. And then if you look at recently, I mean, yeah, 3 top 25s in his last 3 on the PGA Tour. That includes the U.S. Open and the Players. I think at 7,800, I think for Ian Poulter in tournaments is going to be a fine option. I think a lot of people will gravitate towards perhaps Adam Scott or a Louis more so than Poulter, and I think Hatton is getting some love right now because of his play at the Scottish Open. So I think Poulter might get overlooked, and yeah, I think he's a fine tournament option this week.
I feel like he's a sneaky top 20 player. Like, the potential. Like, he's just going to be one of those guys who's he's just going to be there. He's going to hang around. If the weather's calm, I still don't see this being an incredibly high-scoring Open.
No, it shouldn't be. It should be nice and firm and fast type of Open championship, kind of like the U.S. Open this year. But with Poulter being right there, like you said, I mean, he finished 14th at the Open last year. Being third in the field and scrambling, and at the same time being 10th in the field for birdie or better. I kind of like him this week for tournaments. I have a good feeling with Poulter.
Yeah, I do too. Did you have interest in Watson or Scott at all here?
I can't pull the trigger on Bubba Watson with this format. I can't. Same thing with Adam Scott with his putting. I just can't do it. Yeah, Scott has good history here, but I just cannot play him. I think for me at the higher sevens, I think Grace and Poulter might be my only 2 guys that I like for this week.
As far as mid-sevens go, anything you like here? I mean, I know Kuchar's 7,700, like DeChambeau, 76, RCB. Any of these names kind of standing out to you before we dive down?
Kuchar piqued my interest a little bit with finishing runner-up, I think, last year. Still has good history at the Open. He's not the Kuchar of old where you just plug him in and expect him to finish in the top 10. He's not doing that as much this year as he was in the past. DeChambeau is interesting with his WD at the John Deere. I was watching it a little bit, and it looked like it was something to do with the shoulder or like a shoulder blade or something in his lower neck area. It doesn't look good, but I'll be surprised if he's still playing for this week. I think he'll give it a go, but if he's dealing with a shoulder injury, I'm just not gonna deal with that at all. I think my next play down here might be Patrick Cantlay, who doesn't have history at the Open, but recently he's been playing very well. For stats, I mean, he's in the top 10 in the field for approach to the green and for tee to green. And he's 16th in the field for birdie or better percentage. So at 7,500, all I'm looking for him, if the winds are down, then he should easily make the cut and then give like a top 30 finish at the end. That's all I'm expecting out of him this week.
And say weather picks up, like, are you worried about Cantlay a little bit having no history? Obviously he's played probably some links courses over here in the States, but not a ton of European experience.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it looks weather-wise come like Wednesday night. But he did make the cut at the U.S. Open, which is good to see. And he also made the cut back at the Players. So with those 2 in this back pocket, I think Cantlay might be a good tournament option. Not too many people will go to him because of the lack of tournament history for the Open. And I think a lot of people will go to like Luke Liss right next to him just because they saw his name on the leaderboard for the Scottish Open. I think more people will go to him than Cantlay. So I think this week I'm going to fade Liss, and I'll play some of Cantlay and tournaments this week.
We dive into lowers. I mean, you got some names down here. You got like Daniel Berger, Zach Johnson, Lee Westwood, Tony Finau. Any of these guys piquing your interest? I always feel like Zach Johnson's probably going to be one of those staples who he's always so cheap. If you need him to kind of fill in and get a little value in there, like Zach Johnson is always there.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be in my my article for sure for cash plays this week. I mean, if you look at his history at the Open, he won here back in 2015. Outside of that, he has 3 top 15 finishes in his last 5 starts at the Open. So that's really good. And the other guy that I'm looking at in the 7,000 range is Brent Seneker. He played well, very, very well at the Greenbrier. He finished 3rd there. I mean, if you look at Seneker's stats recently, he's been, like I said, playing well. He's 17th in the field for approach to the green. He's 25th in scrambling. So at 7,300 for his Neds, that's a really good value, especially like it was like last year or even 2 years ago. We were paying close to 9,000 for him. Recently, he has been playing well because of his recent injuries, but it looks like he's coming around. So I really like him for tournaments. And then, like I said, Sack is pretty much a must-play down here at 7,200. It looks like he's going to make another top 20 finish at the John Deere. And with his history at the Open, yeah, it just makes a lot of sense. Just plug Sack in and don't think about it this week.
Yeah, like he just gets you into that next tier of players that you want to be kind of picking at. If you go with the lower, 10K, so you plug in Justin Rose and then a Zach Johnson, like you're going to be able to sit in that 8K range for basically the rest of your guys. Yeah,
and I feel that that'll be the most popular stacking as well, with Rose and Sack being right down here. I think a lot of people will go Stars and Scrubs this week, just because there's a lot of names down here that people know, people who they trust a lot. So, yeah, I think with CJ at 72, it should be a race to the top on who's more popular between Sack and Finau. A lot of talks right now on Finau because of his play at the Masters and also his play at the US Open, almost winning the thing.
I think, the interesting names down here, like you said, it could create Stars and Scrubs because, you do have Finau, but you even have like a Webb Simpson at 7,200. I know he's been kind of on and off this year, but like you said, it's names people know. Anyone else down here in the 7K range before we go into complete punt territory? Because you still have Hoffman, Woodland, Hadwin, rounding out the lower 7K range, or even a Peter Uihlein. Any of these guys stand out to you?
Yeah, this is the problem when, especially for me, when I have 20 lineups to play with. I mean, you can, if you want, almost pick everyone down here, but I have to make a stance somewhere. And I think Zach Johnson might be my last guy in the 7,000 range, and I'm just going to fade the others. Yeah, they're fine plays. I wouldn't mind if someone played Kavanaugh at all at 7,000 with his recent win, the way he strikes the ball. Yeah, I don't mind that play at all. But as for me right now, I'm just going to play Sack down here and pick a few more in the 6,000 range.
Yeah, so in the 6,000 range, I mean, who are you looking at as far as your favorites go?
I mean, Russell Henley, we're at the start. If you look at his stats, I mean, he's 13th tee to green, 14th for approach to the green, and he's 16th for scrambling. If you look at his recent play, I mean, he has 3 top 25 finishes in his last 3 starts. He's playing okay at the John Deere. He also finished 25th at the U.S. Open. He doesn't have that great of tournament history. He did have a 20th place finish back in 2015. But I think with his recent play as of late, I think at 6,900, he just makes sense. Kind of like Sack in a way, where you just plug him in and don't really think about it too much.
Yeah, I definitely don't mind that. Anyone else you want to talk about here?
I mean, the one guy we can talk about, some people will talk about him, but I think Stuart Sink is someone to really look at a little bit. I mean, he's basically in the top 10 in the field for 5 of the 6 stats that I'm looking at. The only stat that he's not in the top 10 is scrambling, but he's basically in the middle of the field for that one. He has okay history recently at the Open, but at 6,600, the way Stuart Sink has been playing, I think he's going to be a nice play for either cash or GPP this week.
Winners, give us your favorite dark horse. Who do you got?
Well, at the top, I think I'm going to go with I think I'll pick Ricky Fowler as my winner.
Ooh, interesting. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, I figure that the top guys over 10,000 are a little too obvious, and it's like, yeah, I'll start with Ricky Fowler as a nice pivot there. For the dark horse, I think Ian Poulter might do something, so I'll use Poulter as my dark horse this week.
I like those calls. You can head over to dailyfantasycafe.com this week. Your article will be up Monday afternoon, just waiting on some extra guys to come in who qualified today. But go ahead and check that out. Optimizer is loaded with salaries and everything for the week. And then, of course, the guys will be added in. Of course, it's a earlier start here because it's overseas. So be sure to get those lineups in ahead of time. It's not the usual 6 o'clock start time.
No, I believe lineup block is around 1 a.m. Thursday. So make sure Wednesday night you get your lineups in for the Millie Maker. And yeah, let's go Tiger on his 15th major.
The beauty about this tournament is I can wake up Thursday morning and my lineups could already be done and I don't even have to watch any more of it.
Exactly.
Given the time difference, I know whether I'm in and out by the time I wake up.
Like in my scenario, if Rose and Tiger decided to shit the bed early Thursday morning, I'm going camping by the weekend. So it's like, screw it. The phone's out, gone. I'm not going to bother watching it.
Yeah, there's no downside to this tournament at all.
No, not at all.
So go out, enjoy. Be sure to check out dailyfantasycafe.com, and we will see you. Well, if you're camping, we will see you the tournament after.
Yeah, so basically the week after the Open, the Canadian Open, the only question you have to ask yourself is to play or not to play Johnny Vegas. That's pretty much it.
But we don't get your Canadian narrative, so hopefully you can float us in a few.
No, the only narrative I got right now is that we've been in a dry spell as of late. We haven't had any rain here in the southern Ontario, so yeah, it's gonna be pretty much the same as last year with the weather. So yeah, just pretty much whoever plays well this week and who's playing at the Canadian Open might be your good guys, your go-to guys again for the Canadian Open. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
For sure. So keep tabs on that. Be sure to keep eye on news heading out over the next few days, weather especially, and we'll see you guys soon.